We are live. Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters. Today I have a very special guest, a lovely Revert sister, and a fellow Scots lady by the name of Alana Dunsmore. I'm so glad to have a fellow Scot on. How are you, sister? I hope you're well.
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. And yeah, it is just so exciting to meet other Scottish people. Since I've been traveling abroad, I don't get to meet Scottish people often. So I'm so excited to meet you, really.
Yeah, me too. And hopefully I can come to Malaysia and and we can have like a proper get together. It'll be good to have a
Oh,
proper chat.
100%. Oh,
Um,
absolutely. We must.
Yeah, I'm so pleased to have you on. I've seen your content on YouTube and I follow you on Instagram. And your recent videos about accepting Islam have been so inspirational. And you've been really honest, which I really respect because you've been honest in saying that like it wasn't a overnight process. It was like, I think it was about 4 years you said it was. So but I know that you've recently taken your Shahada, so you've recently become Muslim. But for those that don't know, could you please sort of share some of your revert story, sort of what led you to convert to Islam?
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, it's been a long process, I say long, but 4 years, is it long or not? I don't know. But since I came to Malaysia, so I came to Malaysia to do my year exchange with my university degree. So I have a degree from University of Edinburgh, and with my degree, international business, you have to do a year abroad. So that year abroad, I randomly picked Malaysia. I had no idea it was a Muslim country. I had no idea about anything in Malaysia. I literally, went like this on the map and lo and behold, picked Malaysia. And this is really where my revert story starts, because when I started studying at Uni Razak, where I'm actually still studying now, I went back to my master's, they had a Islamic studies course, and I had one free space in my timetable, and they had lots of entrepreneurship courses, lots of business courses, but I could of course take all of those back in my home university at Edinburgh. So I just randomly picked Islamic studies, and I remember walking in the class, and gosh, I mentioned this in my revert story on my channel, but I remember thinking now, oh gosh, why were you wearing that, Alana? You're wearing like a normal t-shirt, you're wearing like ripped jeans, oh my goodness. But I sat down and my teacher was like, oh, Alana, what are you doing here? And I was like, I just want to learn something completely new. I want to push the boundaries. I'm ready to just, something in my heart, this fire came, was like, do it, Alana, just go learn about Islamic studies. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the class. The teacher was so lovely. And slowly I started to learn about, the 5 pillars of Islam. We delved a little bit into the hadith. And again, I mentioned this in my revert story, but I started to fall in love with the hadith. I thought, gosh, a lot of this makes sense. But at that time, I wasn't living the perfect, Muslim lifestyle. I wasn't even thinking about reverting or anything. But in my heart, I was like, gosh, I really like this a lot. And over the next couple of years, I really kept that in my heart. It was only a 3-month course. And by the way, that was a really difficult exam. I don't know why. It was an exam that I found really difficult, and I still did okay, but could have done better. And for the next couple of years, that all stayed in my heart. And then last summer, last summer now, I came back to Malaysia in 2022. And for some reason, I just really wanted to go to the mosque. And I was filming a lot of content about Malaysia. And my subscribers definitely mentioned, hey, Alana, do you want to go visit the mosque? But even if they hadn't commented anything, I just felt in my heart, Alana, you have to visit the mosque. You've learned a little bit about Islam. Sorry, I should mention that in 2020, during COVID, I decided to fast during Ramadan as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I skipped a little bit there. Gosh, I was with some Muslim friends in Bali. There's not a huge community of Muslims in Bali, because Bali is still like a Hindu island. Lots of foreigners there. But I did decide to fast in 2020, and that was focusing kind of on the food fasting. I wasn't really exploring much more about Islam. I wasn't really reading Quran at that point, but I was remembering what I learned just previously a few months later in 2019 from my classes. So yeah, we flip forward to 2022, and then I decided to go to the mosque with my friend Zuleika. And again, this fire was like burning in my heart, like, gosh, this is really cool. Like, this is starting to make sense. And if we then flip forward to 2023, I decided to fast during Ramadan again. This was before I reverted. And this time I wasn't just focusing on the food fasting, but I was really trying to read hadith, learn more about Quran. And at this point, there was one thing in my head that I was like, Alana, you need to figure this part out about Islam. And that really was, where do women fit in Islam? Let's fight some stereotypes, and let's actually try and ask my Muslim friends, read hadith, read Quran, and try and understand, what does it mean to actually be a female in Islam? And then that's when the clocks really started ticking there. And I was like, oh gosh, this is not what the West is trying to feed me my whole life. It's much, much different. And that Ramadan in 2023 was very special for me. I really enjoyed that time. And then we flipped to just November in 2023, and I came back to Malaysia just a few months earlier. Guys, I have a big love of Malaysia, as you can see. And Alhamdulillah, I decided, you know what, it's now or never. I need to decide. This has been going on for 4 years now. Would you like to be Muslim, Alana, or would you not? Because you've taken a lot of time to explore Islam on your own. You've, tried to experience Ramadan twice. You enjoyed. You now understand like where women lie in Islam. Not fully, but somewhat much better than before. So Alana, it's your time now. So yeah, Alhamdulillah, I took my Shahada here in KL in November of last year.
Oh, alhamdulillah. That's a beautiful story. And I've never heard anyone talk about sort of looking into women and how they look at in Islam. And that's actually really true for a lot of people, like especially for women that want to revert. There are so many stereotypes that you do think,
Yes.
Are they oppressed? Are they made to do certain things? Are they not respected enough? Are they subservient? And I think a lot of that is culture sometimes rather than religion. And that can sort of get meshed in together. So that's beautiful to hear that you sort of done your research. Did you know much about Islam before you went to Malaysia to do your year at the university?
Actually, no. And in my Revert story, I did mention a really special friend of mine who over the years I did lose contact with, and I feel so terrible about that. But when I was studying at the University of Edinburgh, my first and second year, so that... Oh, I'm so sorry. Is that my Wi-Fi?
No. Yeah, I got you. I got you again.
Are we okay? All right. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
So when I was studying 2017... Oh, gosh. When I was studying 2017 and 2018, I was working at Edinburgh Airport. I met my first ever Muslim friend, and she started to not just tell me a little bit about Islam. For example, one summer when we were working, it was Ramadan, and we couldn't believe that she was not eating during this very hot summer in the airport. We're working 12-hour shifts, and we were like, oh, are you dieting? And she was like, no, this is for religious reasons. And I was like shocked. And that was kind of my first experience with Islam, just little things like looking at her lifestyle, like, oh, she doesn't do this, but she does this. And okay, interesting. And I remember one thing that's always stuck in my head. So we used to work in airport security, very busy during summer. And I remember she texted me, Alana, do you mind bringing me some water? This was not during Ramadan. This was another time. And I bought her a bottle of water and I gave it to her. And she was like, oh, how much is it? And I was like, no, it's no problem. It's just some water. And she was like, no, Alana, like in Islam, that's such a, she said, in my religion, it's such a beautiful thing to give someone water. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. Enjoy your water, no problem, you know. So that was my very, very first, very brief intro to Islam. And then, of course, it really popped off in Malaysia.
Oh, alhamdulillah, that's so nice. And hopefully, inshallah, you do get back in touch with her because, I mean, that's
Yes.
a beautiful thing that she done giving you dawah without even knowing that she was giving you dawah. It is
Yes.
beautiful. And it should resonate that in a lot of Muslims, how you represent yourself does actually affect other people and will actually spark
Yeah.
something in them sometimes. So you should think about how you come across. So yeah, that is beautiful. It's a beautiful
100%.
story. I know you were agnostic before becoming Muslim, like meaning you knew a higher power existed, but you weren't devoted to a particular religion like Islam. How does your former belief set contrast to your new religion?
It's a good question because before I always felt like there is something, as you say, a higher power like watching over me, guiding me. I always have believed that everything happens for a reason. There's always a reason behind it, whether it hurts us, whether we love what happens, there's always a reason. And kind of partnering that with the feeling that there is someone higher, someone greater than ourselves. When I then came in or started to learn about Islam, that's again when the clock started to go in my head, and I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. I always felt this, but couldn't put a finger on what that actually meant for me personally. And now, yeah, it makes sense why I felt like that before. And now I'm happy for knowing that, you know, I am Muslim now. And if I'm going to have any issues in the future, I can go to Quran. If I ever have any questions in myself, in my life, I can again go to Quran, you know, seek guidance and pray as well. Now I've got this new like special power there. I can like pray and, you know, ask for guidance and whatever path is given to me, okay, then I have to trust it as well.
Yeah, that must give you a sense of peace to sort of know
Mm.
what's going on and sort of have that guidance. You said like it must give you a sense of peace to finally have like, okay, I know where I lie in life.
100%. And that's exactly it. It's this peace where before, if you tried to fight the path that is given to you, you might get upset, you might get angry, you might even get frustrated. Why me? Why this path? But once you decide to just accept, oh, okay, this is the path. Let's try our best. Let's just go with this path. Let's not fight it anymore. And exactly, absolutely, the peace just comes with that, right?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, it's beautiful. I know that in your family you have some Christianity. I'm not sure if your whole family is Christian or if some of your family is Christian. But why did you choose Islam over Christianity or Judaism or any other religion?
Yeah, again, this is like a great question. And I would want to, like, you know, preface this with if you have your religion, that's so great in itself. Because as you mentioned about my family there, yeah, a lot of my family actually don't really have a religion or don't believe in God at all. Which, you know, that's absolutely their decision. I'm not judging them for that. But coming back to the question, you know, Christianity or Islam, you know, why did I pick my path? Well, I did try with Christianity before a little bit. I remember a small event in my life happened when I was like 17, and I was really seeking this guidance, but also looking for, quote, happiness. How do I find happiness again? And my flatmate at that time, really lovely girl, she is Christian, and she took me to a number of churches at that time, a number of church events. And when I went to like talk to the pastors, we were having a discussion, and it just what they were saying, it just didn't come to my heart. Like I almost felt like, okay, sure, whatever you say. But when it came to Islam, there's such, I don't want to say the word strict because it's not, but there is set guidance. And if you're having an issue, or I keep coming back to issue. Guys, you can look to the Quran for a number of reasons, not just issues, but
Yeah.
there's guidance in the Quran that actually helps you through everything. And that's wonderful. It's never been changed, it's never been altered. And that was really powerful in my head, that something has lasted this time that we've been on earth. And yeah, I think slowly I just started to think, hey, I need something really set in stone, not something in my head that I felt personally was a little bit, could be swayed one way or another. I was really looking for guidance that is that little bit more, yeah, you really should do this. And I'm like, okay, let's do that. And slowly I just felt Islam is really the religion for me. And gosh, to put my finger on it, yeah, I suppose it is about the guidance. And it just felt right at the end of the day, because when I was trying to push into Christianity, it just in my heart didn't feel right. That's really the bottom line. But when I was going into Islam completely on my own, not pushed by anyone, I just felt it was right. And I just had to run with it in the end, because if it feels like for you, then great.
Yeah. SubhanAllah, I've heard that a lot, that when people look into other religions, that Islam is one that shines out because of, like you said, there are set, clear, not rules, but yeah, there's guidance and there's a set way of being, and that never changes. It doesn't change. And I think sometimes with Christianity and Judaism, Western things sort of come into the religion, and people sometimes pick over Western values over religion, and they sort of get mixed in together. Whereas Islam it's one way, like there's nothing that can change that. So yeah, you're right. The guidance is definitely there for everything, for everything that you go through in life. And we need that as human beings. We need guidance, I think. And it's not strict. It's not strict in the way that, like you've been oppressed. It's more as in like, these are the rules, follow them or don't follow them. But they're for your benefit.
That's the thing, that's the thing that I do feel like in the West, the sentence stops at, okay, the rules are there, but we don't finish off with, for you to be the best version of yourself, for you to be like a really great human being. I think that's a sentence that we only half finish in the West. We forget to do the full thing. And I accept these guidance. I'm not going to call them rules. Like, I accept this guidance because in my heart I really do feel like it's right. And there's certain things that still I need to do on my journey into Islam to be a better Muslim. And I also understand with my own path that because I have my social media presence, I understand there's a bit of responsibility that comes with that. I can't just say, oh, guys, I'm Muslim, and then carry on doing exactly what I was doing before. There are some things that slowly I'll have to change. Like clothing, I already started to kind of slowly change. But yeah, there'll be things along the way that I'll change. And it'll be interesting to see how my kind of more Western audience feels about that. But in reality, it's only between me and God anyway, so...
Yeah, and I think that sometimes when people convert, or even born Muslims, I think we focus so much on the outside and how we come across rather than what's on the inside. And like you said, it's your relationship with God. And yeah, there is a pressure when you have a following, for sure. But you're very fresh. You're a fresh Muslim. It's only been a couple of months, so I know you've been obviously on this journey for a while, but you still have, we all have lots to learn. I still have loads to learn. Every Muslim has their own journey and always has to progress to become a good Muslim. I don't think anybody can say, I am the best Muslim that there is. It's just not a thing. So we're definitely all on that journey. I saw your video of your Shahada, which was beautiful. And I think it's beautiful that you recorded it and you documented it. Can you describe how that day was for you?
Yeah. Gosh, my Shahada day, in the morning, I did feel a little bit nervous, and I kept saying, like, Alana, why do you feel nervous? Like, there's not 1% of you that feels like this is the wrong decision. So, go for it. And yeah, it was a really beautiful morning. My manager, but my really close friend as well, Joey, came over to my place and helped me put on my hijab. And yeah, I wanted to film it for the memories, and I wanted to film it just in case I wanted to share it later. You know, we didn't put mics on or anything. We just nicely filmed it, you know, wherever we felt comfortable. And yeah, so I went to the mosque here in KL, and I invited my really close Muslim friends because, gosh, these guys have been on my journey since 2019. And for some of those guys who came to the mosque that day, who knew me from my early uni Razak days, they, I'm sure, must have been thinking all morning, like, I can't believe Alana is going to revert today. Like, I'm sure the version of them that they met back then, they would never have thought my path would come this far. And that thing, you never know. You really never know what path is ahead for anyone. And what we said earlier, you always have to bear that in mind. Whoever you meet, believer, non-believer, that you know should be yourself and be nice. But you know, think about that. But we got to the mosque, and we actually went into the wedding room to do my shahada there. It's not that common to do shahadas there, but because we brought our camera, we talked to the imam beforehand and said, hey, can we do it maybe in a nicer place so my friends could come too, rather than in the office. And yeah, so then we sat down, and yeah, again, the nerves were a little bit there, and I was like, oh gosh. But as soon as the imam started talking, I felt so calm. I was like, oh gosh, even listening to this imam, like, yeah, this is the correct decision for me. And yeah, he did speak in Bahasa Melayu. I was looking to Abbas to kind of translate a little bit for me, my partner. And yeah, slowly when we went through it, and took my shahada, and afterwards, you know, my eyes were a little bit watery, and I was like, gosh, this is really a beautiful moment. And then seeing all my friends, like, with their smiles, like, I've never seen these smiles like this, you know, looking up and seeing my friends, like, gosh, they're really happy for me right now. And after that, it comes this process as a new revert, where when you speak to a Muslim and tell them about your shahada, or tell them that you're a new revert, gosh, the smiles you see in their face. I've never experienced anything like this, and they just wish you a beautiful life ahead. They wish that you seek, you know, guidance, and they're just so happy. So yeah, that's kind of a little run through of my shahada, but a very special day. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I have said this before when I've spoken to other reverts, and I've said I'm a little bit jealous because I've never had, you know, because when you're born Muslim, obviously when you're born Muslim, you're just born Muslim. So you never have that enlightening experience. And it must be, I mean, it's a blessing, you know, for reverts that, you know, for yourself, I mean, you'll always have that. And, you know, alhamdulillah, it must have been a beautiful day. And I'm really happy, you know, and I know all Muslims that will meet you will be happy, because it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing for someone to go through that journey and to come to Islam. And you're a sister now, you know, so it's like having another sister. So alhamdulillah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really happy. I know you said you're based in Malaysia, which has a massive Muslim population.
Yes.
What made you sort of move to Malaysia? Was it because, like, you loved it so much when you went for your exchange? And how would you describe sort of the Islamic culture over there?
Yeah, great question. Really great question. For me, as soon as I was 1 month here in Malaysia, way back in 2019, I just envisioned my life here. Really, this was even before I'm a revert. I absolutely love my life here in Kuala Lumpur. I adore Kuala Lumpur so much. I always wanted my life to be here since 2019. And because of COVID, it took a little bit of time for me to be able to get back here after COVID, because they closed the borders for over a year. And when I did come back, because I work freelance, I couldn't initially stay in Malaysia full time, you know, locked in without worrying about visas. I had to kind of keep coming and going. And then eventually last year, alhamdulillah, I could come back. And yeah, I just fell in love with Malaysia back in 2019. When it comes to Islamic values here in Malaysia, Malaysia is such a beautiful place because, first of all, you have a variety of different religions here, and that is wonderful for anyone, and especially a revert, to kind of be able to explore first of all and see the different religions and then see where you fit in. So alhamdulillah, mine was with Islam. But for the specific Islamic values, Muslims here are so sweet because they practice openly their Islamic values in terms of patience. Gosh, they are patient with foreigners. In terms of being so generous with foreigners, just very curious about foreigners as well. They openly practice these Islamic values with you, but do not force you to have these values or become Muslim yourself. So Malaysia was a place where I was able to come and before just live my lifestyle, and then also be accepted with my new lifestyles. So, new religion, it's a place where anyone is welcome and you get to experience these beautiful Islamic values without feeling that you yourself have to be Muslim, if that makes sense. And then in the end, obviously, I did become Muslim, but it's a really open, beautiful place and a very peaceful country, which is really fascinating considering all the different religions and all the different people here. In the end, everyone gets on just fine. So yeah, that really covers like my story with coming to Malaysia.
Wow, you really sold it to me. It's definitely somewhere that I want to go and see, because it's never really been on it's been on my list, but not like, you have other places. But no, I do really want to come to Malaysia and see it because it does sound beautiful. And I like that you said, that they're not forceful in pushing people into being a certain way. And I think that's the best way to be, because when people just see you for who you are, they automatically will want to be like you if they like who you are. So that's beautiful. And yeah, you've definitely sold it to me. Obviously you're a fellow Scot. And in Scotland, the majority of people these days are atheists or sort of practicing a religion but not fully. Like fully in their day-to-day lives. How did your friends and family in Scotland react to you becoming Muslim? I know your mum's out there with you now, which is beautiful. So how was that process? How did that go?
Yeah. So do you want to know something? Obviously, I took my Shahada back in the start of November last year, 2023. And honestly, my really close Muslim friends here in Malaysia were obviously there, so they knew about it. But apart from that, I didn't share it with too many people to begin with. And I shared it with my close family and friends. So obviously, I'll explain their reaction in a second. But what I wanted to say is that I wanted people to realize I'm still Alana. Nothing crazy happens overnight. I've still got the same sense of humor, the same jokes, guys, good or bad. It's still me. So with the external community, with my socials, I kept it to myself for 2 months to really prove to people I'm just still me, guys.
Yeah.
And coming back to my close family and friends, they were just so accepting. My two best friends at home live in Kira. They were literally like, you do you, girl. You're still Alana to us, because they know me. They know that nothing crazy happens overnight. Everything that changes is internal with me and God. That's the biggest change, praying, reading Quran. The external is only my appearance, and that was slowly shifting anyway. So they understood fully I'm just still Alana, and they were like, you do you, absolutely. And doubling back on my family, my mum again was like, Alana, I know you're old enough to make your own decisions. Whatever's gonna be best for you, you do it.
That's good.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. When it comes to my dad, again, he accepts any decision I make. My parents know that I've always made my own decisions since I left home at 17. With my dad, his reaction was quite funny for me because he overall accepted it, but he did have a couple of questions. And first was my clothing. He was like, oh gosh, do you need to, wear hijab now? And I was like, okay, Dad, just slowly, inshallah, hopefully one day I will be wearing hijab, of course. but it doesn't happen overnight. I'm not going to suddenly just be wearing, clothing that I know is in your head. I can still wear a lot of my old clothes. I just, maybe change it slightly. And his other question was about fun. He thought like, oh gosh, are you gonna like give up fun now? And I'm like, what do you think is fun? Like your idea of fun and my idea of fun might be quite different now. And alhamdulillah for that. So that was quite a comical response for me, because I thought, okay, I don't know why you're worried about these things, because now I'm Muslim. These things are for my own safety, for my own well-being, for my own good character, that I might change these. So yeah, overall I would say close family and friends accepted it. And I'm sure they had questions in their heads, but to me they certainly supported me and let me just carry on my path. And yeah, then when I announced it on my socials, obviously all my Muslim followers were absolutely thrilled, leaving so many wonderful comments. And yeah, that's about it.
Oh, I'm glad you've had a positive response, because that does make it as well for you. I think because you're probably filled with so much light, and then if you were to get a bad response, it probably dims it. But because it just keeps you kind of fulfilled. And that's funny, your dad, because you'd think a dad would be more like, oh great, she's covering up, and oh great, she's not wanting to go out and stuff. So it's so funny that he's like, what?
Yeah, I'm like, Dad, you've got this round the wrong way, my guy. Like, you need to switch your thinking. But, that's one thing I really wanted to say today is like, that's the thing. People really have to switch their thinking, because from now on in, I want to break so many stereotypes, so many stereotypes. I want them broken down via my socials, via meeting me personally. I just want to show people that Islam is not what you think in the West. For a lot of non-believers, back in Scotland as well, they have their own opinions of what Islam is. They have many stereotypes in their head, which may well be fed by the media, may well be fed by, whoever. And now I just feel this like responsibility that, gosh, I need to even break the own stereotypes that I used to have about Islam, because they are so not true. And yeah, alhamdulillah, I take that path. I take that responsibility.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm so glad that you are adamant of doing that, because yes, and like you said to your dad, like his idea of fun and your idea of fun is not the same. And I think in Scotland especially, the idea of fun is going out partying and drinking, and especially at this time of year, there's so much going on, and we're sort of seen as the boring ones that are just at home doing nothing. But actually no, you don't understand the difference in that you feel when you're not consumed by all of that. I mean, I've never done any of that, but I can only imagine it's quite dark place to be in, without realizing it. So that must be scary as well. And inshallah, I pray that your family come to Islam, and hopefully through you they will see the beauty and the change in you, and that they will also open their heart and accept Islam. Inshallah, I do make that dua for you and your family.
Thank you. Alhamdulillah.
So in Islam, marriage and having children are very important, as we all know. And when it's done properly, it's almost seen as an act of worship. Do you have any plans for the future now that you're Muslim? I know it's very early days, but in regards to sort of marriage and having children, and how will this sort of be different to what you've sort of your previous outlook before you became Muslim? Has things changed in that aspect?
Oh gosh, like 360, not even 180. Let's put 360. Gosh, yes. And it's a change that I never kind of set out to change. It was just this process of taking a step back from perhaps even media that I was getting fed, and just taking a step back and trying to understand the whole picture. Yeah, inshallah, we'll actually be married this year.
Oh,
alhamdulillah for that. So that's also something that I didn't see coming, I really didn't see that coming. Now, about, marriage and kids, my whole thought process has changed recently. Something has come into my heart, and Islam has come into my heart, and gosh, it's really done a whole change, because I can see that in the West, you know, the kind of thought processes, you know, like you don't really need to have kids and you can like wait much later in life to have kids, which absolutely you still can, and I may choose to do. But the thing is, I've realized the shift is that before perhaps I was thinking like kids, oh God, like stress, I need to be like so ready for that, and you do. But I was also thinking like, oh, burden, burden, burden. But in fact, my goodness, what an awful outlook to have. Kids are not a burden, you know. Kids are a beautiful thing in your life, and you know, inshallah, I would of course love to have children, and it's crazy for me even to say that because that just really wasn't the case until really recently.
Wow.
And I just feel like slowly but surely my whole idea about gender roles as a whole started to change. And that really came from just taking a step back and analyzing the whole picture. There are things in the West that are kind of getting ideologies pushed onto me that in the end I just didn't agree with. And you know, it's really nice to be here in Malaysia where I can just live my own ideologies when it comes to, you know, gender roles, not be pushed to do one thing or another. Just allow my own headspace to decide what I will do in terms of, yeah, kids, marriage. And, you know, actually here in Malaysia, like marriage is just seen as so special, which is a huge change from how I felt it was being portrayed to me back in the UK. It seemed like marriage is like, oh gosh, you're tied down. Oh gosh, that's you for life, you know?
Yeah.
Marriage is so beautiful when you find someone that has shared values with you, that has this shared vision with you. You guys are now a team. You have this teamwork to go through life. How beautiful is that? Why would I want to go through life on my own, being, you know, this like boss girl, when
Yeah.
actually, gosh, I could have someone next to me to share half the work with. Some of the
Yeah.
work I don't want to do, he wants to do. Oh, great, that's fantastic. And that came with, you know, accepting Islam. But of course, you know, the bottom line, which we forget in the West, it's really about the man you also pick. You know, you have to pick a great man that's going to be your great partner. You can't pick a not so great man, and just because he's maybe a believer also, that you're going to have a great partnership. So yeah, my thoughts and feelings about marriage and children definitely, yeah, changed along the way whilst accepting Islam.
That's beautiful, and I think that you really touched on something so important about the ideologies that are pushed on us in the West. You know, feminism has changed, and what that word is now, I think we don't really understand it, and gender roles are a big part of that. And I think, yes, a lot of women are confused, and I genuinely do think they are confused because probably biologically they want to feel a certain way, but they mentally don't know how to feel because they're told something different. And being a mom and a wife is a blessing. You know, it truly is a blessing. And yes, it can be difficult. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's not a challenge. Sometimes trying to keep both roles in a balance is also a challenge, but it's a blessing. It gives you a purpose. You know, it gives you a purpose in life. And yeah, I think it's really important. And I just want to say for viewers, if you're a Muslim parent or a wife or even a wife to be, and you have, you know, some general tips and assistance, please, we've got a Telegram group, please join. The links are in the description. We get lots of people on there that really try and help one another, because it's a big space that I think sometimes when you go into, you're like, hold on, I'm a wife now, how am I supposed to be? You
I
know, it's
know.
quite a scary thing. And if you need specific guidance or specific help, please feel free to book a consultation. The links are also in the description for anybody that needs any help. But yeah, I'm so glad that your outlook has changed, sister, because that's beautiful. And alhamdulillah, you'll be
Yeah.
blessed with children and a happy marriage, and you know, and everything will go well for you, inshallah. I do genuinely have that dua for you as well. Um,
Thank you.
my next question is a touchy subject, but it's in regards to hijab. I know you have it on today and you look beautiful with it on,
Thank you.
and or, you know, abaya. I'm a firm believer that Revert sisters, we must give them the time. I think we have to
Mm,
give them time and not pressure them into wearing it. And I think, like you said, social media, if you're on social media, that's a different ball game, because you have several people, you know, you don't just have people that you meet day to day, you have
Yeah.
everybody. I still have people tell me, you know, that you're it's not covered enough, or that you're wearing makeup, or, you know, so there's always,
Yeah.
or like you're showing your wrists, you know, there's always someone that's going to say something. So I do think that, you know, we have to give Revert sisters, and in general sisters as well, born Muslims as well, just time. Because converting to Islam is a massive life change, and you need time to adjust. But what are your views on the hijab? Do you have plans in the future? I know you've touched on it, and do you like wearing it?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, inshallah, yeah, I would hope that I will be a hijabi. I can't give a timeline on it, but
Yeah.
you know, inshallah, and please do pray for that for me. And so about wearing it, I really love it actually. And I absolutely agree. Of course, my opinion may be biased, but I do agree that reverts need a little bit of time. You know, everything can't happen overnight. It's just too overwhelming for everything to just be happening overnight, because we've been living, you know, me 23 years of a completely different lifestyle, and then you have to take the steps to try and mold it into your Islamic lifestyle. I really love wearing it, and you know, throughout the marriage process here in Malaysia with my partner, we had to go to different courts, different Islamic centers, and yeah, I had to wear hijab, and I'm really grateful for that, because it made me start to wear it in public when we would have to go to these centers to get all of our documents together, and it was just this moment where you go into a room thinking that everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, she's a hijabi now. And in reality, everyone's just minding their business because,
Yeah.
yeah, you're a hijabi now. Okay, great for you, hun. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I really love wearing it, in fact. And I will definitely still be on a journey with it. And when it comes to my YouTube channel, for example, I'm trying to read the room. There's certain content now that I will wear hijab. And these content, it's also because I really feel in the future I will be a hijabi. So I know that there'll be some content I'll slowly start to private, you know, just for my own viewing later on, where I'm perhaps not wearing a hijab. So now I'm just slowly starting to feed in some content where I wear it, because I know I will want to keep that on my channel forever as well.
Yeah.
So, and another thing I would say on this topic is when I announced that I'm a revert now, I was so overwhelmed with the comments and messages that said, just take your time, Alana. Like, nobody is forcing you or rushing you to do anything. And I mentioned this on my story the other night. Like, guys, that in itself proves such a big point to me about Islam, that whatever we do, reverts, Muslims, in our lifestyle that slowly changes, it's us that decide. No one can force us, no one can push us to do anything, whether that be literally a family member, whether that be a partner, friends. In fact, it all comes from ourselves. And it has to be that way. Our intention has to be there. So I really appreciated when so many wonderful comments came in, like, just take your time, Alana, don't be rushed, don't even feel rushed. And I just thought that was wonderful. And of course, as you mentioned, there are people that come to your social media that probably have never watched any of your videos, don't know a single thing about you. And for me personally, they see I'm a revert and they just think instantly, oh, where's your hijab? They don't know the time frame, they don't know my story, they don't know me, they don't know anything. So I try to not take notice on those comments for now. And of course, I know my journey can't take too long also. So inshallah, you know, the day will come. So let's see when.
Yeah, and it seems to be like you are comfortable with it. I mean, there's so much respect that you've come on today and you've got it on, you know, and I respect that so much. And I mean, for a born Muslim, I didn't start wearing hijab until my daughter was born. She's 2.5 now, so it's only been a few, about 3-4 years. And I struggled with it because I hadn't worn it for so long. I wanted to wear it when I was a kid, and then I changed my mind. And it was hard for me too, because I mean, there's things that people don't understand, like even things like your hair, like, you know, your hair's always up, so you don't have like,
Yeah.
it's not always a mess. And yourself, like you said, I remember the first time I went out, I thought everyone was looking at me in the supermarket, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody cared. Like, in fact, somebody even helped me put all my shopping onto the conveyor belt thing because I had the kids, and I was like, oh, maybe
Love
that's
that.
why people are being nice to me now because I've got a
Yeah,
hijab on.
I love that.
You just it is all in your head, I think. But yeah, you definitely need to take your time, and I like that you're slowly wearing it. Sometimes easing
Mhm.
into it is better than just making that big decision. Like, I think if you have that
Yeah,
decision of some days I'll wear it, some days I won't, you'll probably veer more towards wearing it than not.
that's right. Like I can feel now, it's like, hey, no, I think I will wear hijab here. And I know for people that, you know, don't know me, that they would be thinking like, oh, but why are you ever deciding to not wear it? And I understand that as well. But at the end of the day, it's my own path, it's my own everything that I take control of. But
Mhm.
it was so nice not to feel the pressure. And, I'm not sure when I'll be going back to Scotland. And I know it will also be a bit of a different journey when I go back there. If I'm already a full time hijabi, I don't know many hijabis. I really don't see many ladies wearing hijab, in fact, in my town. So I think I don't know. Maybe it'll all be in my head, but I don't know how people will react. But in the end, if I've decided at that moment to be a hijabi, then yeah, it's my own decision. It's between me and God and no one else.
Yeah.
And if people stare, it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, and inshallah it will become an easier journey for you. It's great you're in a Muslim country. That makes things a lot better for you, I think. It makes
Yeah.
things easier. And just one of the last things that I wanted to ask you, again, sort of much more important than just looking at learning, also have to sort of learn the values of Islam. And one of the things is sort of reading Quran, doing your salahs. There's quite sometimes people feel like that's quite a lot of pressure to have to like pray 5 times a day. That's what I've
Mm.
heard quite a lot. How have you found that experience with having to keep up with your salahs and reading Quran? Are you reading the English translation? Have you started?
So yeah, about this, in all honesty, five, gosh, my English, praying 5 times a day, it does still feel a little bit overwhelming. So overwhelming, I could not get my English out there for a second.
Yeah.
But inshallah, I really, of course, know my responsibility, and I know that I have to do this. So for now, it's been, again, like my hijab wearing, a slow process. When I really feel in my heart like, yep, I need to pray now, gosh, I just run with it because I'm like, oh, I'm glad I feel like this. But I also understand that there will be many, many, Muslims every day that feel like they don't want to pray 5 times a day, but they just know they have to. So I know also that, hey, I have to push myself a little bit. No one likes to do homework, but they still have to do it. No one likes to do the dishes, but we still have to do the dishes, right? So I understand that I will have to start pushing myself more and more. So inshallah, guys, please pray for that. And yeah, with reading Quran, alhamdulillah, yeah, started to slowly also read parts of the Quran. The advice I was given was just, open the Quran on any page, random page, and just start reading it from there. See what page that is. Maybe it was meant for you to be opened on that page. But inshallah, of course, I will start from the beginning and work my way through as well. So yeah, like as I say, like with my hijab, it's also a slow process because I don't want to have resentment for this also. I
Yeah.
don't want to overwhelm myself to a space where I'm like, gosh, is this the right path for me? Because I know it's the right path for me. I just need to slowly ease myself in. So yeah, just like any training, right? You can't run a marathon overnight. You've got to put the steps in and then slowly build up. So yeah, alhamdulillah, the process has been there. And yeah, I've been happy about that. And I know I can push myself more. So inshallah, I will.
Inshallah. And it is a praying. It's about a connection. I think once you have that connection, then you want to go onto the prayer mat. But it's definitely a process for everybody. Everybody has, like you said, good days and bad days. But once you get into the habit, it just becomes part of your daily routine.
Yes,
And I think that's what
true.
you have. once you sort of you've done it for, what do they say, 30 days creates a habit, and once you've sort of created that habit, then you sort of actually plan it into your day. You sort of build your day around your prayers. So yeah, it just takes time. It'll take time for sure, for everything. And like I said before, we're all still learning. It's not just about being a new Muslim or being a born Muslim. Everybody is trying to be the best Muslim that they can be for themselves. So alhamdulillah,
Yes.
I'm so happy that you're on this journey, sister.
Thank you so much. Really, thank you so much. And thank you, for taking the time to understand the journey as well, because it is a worry as a new revert, especially with the social media, presence I have, that people would be quick to judge. And
Yeah.
that was one thing when I came out with my revert story. I was thinking, gosh, where do I belong now? My old friends might think like, oh gosh, Alana's went extreme, which, is not the case. And then, my Muslim followers might think, well, she's not doing enough to be a good Muslim, is she? And I'm like, still kind of in this in between phase. And I'm like, oh gosh. But in the end, I'm not trying to please anyone. This is my own journey. This is between me and God. It's between me and Allah. So no one can rush me. No one can pressure me. And it's so lovely that, people like yourself are actually accepting of the journey and curious without the judgment. And, alhamdulillah for that. I really appreciate that. And, I will certainly do the same to new reverts when they decide to join Islam also.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm so glad that you decided to join me today. And it might open a whole, new audience to you, a whole bunch of people that maybe have never come across your content before. And like we were talking about before, there are a lot of people in this, we call it the dawah scene, but a lot of dawah people that will probably reach out, inshallah, and that you'll get to know a lot of other people as well. And it is a different sort of community on YouTube. So, inshallah, inshallah, you'll
Yeah.
get new friends.
Love that. Always open for new friends, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you ever come back to Scotland, please get in touch, sister. I
Oh,
mean, I'm
yes.
not that far, so you're always welcome to come.
100%.
And it'd be lovely to see you face to face. And it was so great to learn more about you today. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make this journey easy for you and just bless you and your family with abundance of goodness, inshallah. And thank you for giving the time to me today.
Oh, you are most welcome. Thank you so, so much. And yes, I pray for you also. And yeah, inshallah, when I'm back in Scotland, I'll be definitely sending a text over. So inshallah, we can meet then. And yeah, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.